Exciting day today. I mean, one of the stocks that was interesting to me was Hain, sort of not a stock we talk about a lot. But it's interesting on this day that, they officially banned trans fats. It wasn't connected, but Hain is like this big-time player in natural food, stuff like that. Big rally after an upgrade from Bank of America. It's seen as this essentially proxy on the whole healthy living trend. And the trans fat ban shows the direction of the country. Stock is up.
Are you a healthy eating liver? Liver?
I try to eat healthy, and then sometimes I just usually around 3 o'clock when I go to our snack bar and there's all that candy out, every once in a while I just completely fold and eat terribly.
My daughter's organic, but I'm like, ooh, those chips look really good. Well, one stock that I was watching was Coty, had an intraday record high, just a huge move today. There was a report out from the New York Post that it beat out other bidders for 3 of Procter & Gamble's beauty brands. The reason why I picked this out is because Piper Jaffray said a buyout really could be transformative, roughly doubling annual revenue, and that kind of gels with most of the M&A and buyout assets that we've seen. Every company seems to be looking for scale. And on the P&G side, it's about trimming down a really big business, trying to get skinnier and focused on its core consumer. It's sort of what we saw with Target the other day selling its pharmacy units to CVS.
Yeah. And meanwhile, the big story once again, Greece. And things are getting pretty interesting with the rhetoric we're seeing out of Greece. So obviously, at least according to officials, they're making no progress. The head of Finland said they're going to need a miracle to get a deal. And then Tsipras gave a speech to the Greek parliament today where he talked about IMF criminality. I mean, this is one of their creditors they're talking about. You don't typically associate trying to get a deal with calling your creditors criminal. He said that creditors were asphyxiating the Greek economy. I mean, really rough stuff. And there's this view, they're like, oh, God, things are really getting bad. I actually have a slightly contrarian view. I kind of think that maybe this serves a useful purpose, and that, it reminds me of the debt ceiling fights from 2011, when at the very end it seemed it was like peak acrimony. But the acrimony sort of serves a purpose because then when they have to make their final concession, Tsipras can say, oh, we fought really hard and we got a little something out of the creditors. So maybe it's not as bad as people think.
But the irony there is it seems like the Greek people are actually wanting a deal. Polls are showing that more and more Greeks want a deal too. So it's like, well, who are you posturing towards? Just like the far leftist Syriza at this point? That's what always strikes me as kind of odd. But nevertheless, the sort of Grexit conversation continues in sort of the what happens if. And Mark Gilbert of Bloomberg View had a hypothesis and said, look, if Greece has to leave, what about Euro bonds? Because we're going to have some kind of unity. He says, smart way for the EU to swear allegiance to the Euro in the turbulent atmosphere that's likely to follow a messy exit by Greece. It might just succeed in overcoming the resistance of its objectors. And a Euro bond done differently, so each country owes a little bit. So if one defaulted, you wouldn't be on the hook for all that cash. So interesting that we're hearing these more plan Bs.
Right. And it's also interesting, that's perfect, because we're starting to see the contagion is back. For a long time, the word was, oh, you don't have to worry about Greece because the Eurozone has ECB QE. It's all taken care of. We're starting to see some signs that nervousness is coming back. One of the things that people look for is the spread between the debt of other peripheral countries like Spain and Italy and Portugal and Germany. And as you can see, there's the Spain-German spread, and it's pretty clearly on the rise, hitting its highest level since last October. So the fear is, or what appears to be, is that people think, okay, if something goes bad in Greece, then we have to start talking about what other knock-on effects we'll see in other countries.